think I understand your perspective, but want to make sure that I have it correct. I think people were accusing you of trying to prevent wolves from just getting brought to Colorado in total. Is that, I don't believe that's your position.
It is not my position. So we're not relitigating Proposition 114 with these bills whatsoever, and we're not stepping on the toes of the SAG group or the TWIG group or the CPW Commission whatsoever, because what they've done on compensation, what they've done with the wolf plan for reintroduction, we stand behind. They've done a wonderful job, and the citizens of Colorado that serve on those committees have done a wonderful job. So we're not trampling on that whatsoever. What we're saying with Senate Bill 256 is that we're not going to have it prohibits the introduction of wolves, right, into the state of Colorado unless we have a 10J designation. It's that simple. And then
Why does that designation matter so much?
for management, it allows flexibility of management within CPW to manage the wolves on the landscape. Without 10J, it doesn't. You know, it's an experimental species, right, with the 10J designation, and without it, this is an endangered species, and it's just hands off. And we need to have management capabilities, and livestock producers in this state need management capabilities. I mean, we're not saying, you know, we're not relitigating that. We know wolves are coming, right? But give us the tools to manage that population of predators in this state.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think one of the biggest tools is with 10J would allow a rancher to lethally take a wolf under the certain circumstances.
Yeah, that's a very narrow set of circumstances. So I don't want people to have the idea that just because you have 10J, if you're receiving some damage, you're going to be able to lethal control wolves. That's not how that works, and that's not how 10J works. But through collaboration of the landowners and the CPW and everyone else, then it does allow, if you need to actually have lethal control and a removal maybe of an individual or a particular wolf that's causing all kinds of damage.
In the simplest way possible, without 10J, the federal government is in charge. With 10J, CPW is in charge.
Absolutely correct.
Got it.
Absolutely correct.
And what U.S. Fish and Wildlife has said, they're hoping to have it in place by the end of the year. What if?
That's our hope too. So what 256 is doing is saying if it doesn't, if the Fish and Wildlife Service doesn't have the 10J designation, then the reintroduction of wolves, we have to have that before there's paws in the ground, the reintroduction of wolves.
What's the danger of having wolves here before?
Then we have no control, no management, right? It's an endangered species, and the feds run it.
And I know I'll be asking them this to clarify 100%, but if wolves are brought before 10J is in place, and then the rule gets made, would it affect the wolves that are already here?
Yeah. So if they get on the ground prior to 10J, then the 10J designation makes no difference.
So that how comfortable are you with the way things are currently going? Obviously, you had concerns enough to propose and sponsor this bill.
Yeah. So the concern was to make sure, because I and other bill sponsors and many other legislators are afraid that the reintroduction would happen with or without 10J, and we understand the management implications without 10J. So this bill that we're running with 256 is just to guarantee that 10J is in place and we have those management capabilities.
Yeah. Anything I'm not asking that you think is important to mention about that bill?
On the what?
Anything important that I'm not asking about that issue?
Oh, not on the 10J. It's really that simple. We want that designation before the reintroduction of wolves. And there's some heartburn over, after all litigation, it's the way it's written in the bill. So there's some heartburn about that. But I can tell you that it isn't the livestock producers or any of them that's going to be filing lawsuits.
Yeah. On the funding, so this is just from memory now. I think the state budget has $2 million for wolf management. I think it's like 350,000, something like that, in the other bill.
That's a 350,000 in Senate Bill 255 is 350,000 continuous appropriation for each year, and that's to compensate people for livestock loss or weight losses due to wolves or any livestock loss. And that, we don't know if that number is correct or not, but that's where we're starting. And, in future years, we might know that it needs to be considerably less or considerably more.
Okay.
Only time will tell.
That was going to be my question of how we got to that.
Yeah.
And then I got confused at the end of the bill. It mentioned subtracting like $170,000.
That was just for this year.
Okay.
So, we're already through the year, right? So it was up for this year,
Okay.
is 175,000.
Yeah.
Which basically is a half of the 350. So that's where we arrived at the 175. And then the following years, the full years, would be 350,000.
Got it. Oops, I just screwed this up. My colleagues out on the Western Slope right now actually at a ranch. I imagine you've heard a lot of concerns from your constituents.
A lot of concerns, and so much of it is that when Prop 114 was voted on, and it passed by a very small margin, right? But they're going to be introduced west of the Continental Divide, and most of the counties and the rural counties over there didn't vote for it, but yet we're getting them. It's just like I had a constituent tell me the other day, said, I want to vote in the Denver mayor race. They're voting on wolves on the West Slope. I want to vote on the Denver mayor race. So I hear a lot of that, and people. I mean, they understand, but they also want to be able to deal with it.
Yeah. How?
They understand the will of the people and the vote to get that.
What do you think of that perspective as you're here in Denver?
Well,
About who voted for it and who didn't?
Well, 75% of the population in Colorado lives within 25 miles of I-25. I don't know how clear to make it, right? So rural Colorado, it's kind of like taxation without representation. We get regulation without representation.
Yeah, and you're trying to change that.
Trying to change that.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to make it workable, right? And the people on the West Slope, I mean, they're livestock producers, or that's their means of making a living, right? And so naturally they have those concerns, and then my background's wildlife, and I realize the importance of private land and these ranches and landowners and livestock producers and the benefit they give to the wildlife resource of this state, and we need to keep them in business.
Anything on that asking that you think's important to mention?
Kathleen? I think I covered it. I mean,
Just that it's a standalone fund and that it's.
oh, yes, thank you. Yes, on the compensation, along with the whole reintroduction, I run a bill last year that no sportsman's dollars can be spent for the reintroduction of wolves. Has to come out of general fund. And the same thing with Senate Bill 255. It's out of the general fund, not licensed dollars from hunters and fishermen.
I just thought of this, sorry to go back to the two timelines. If U.S. Fish and Wildlife is saying, like, we're going to try by New Year's Eve, and wolves have to be on the ground by New Year's Eve.
Well, if you read Prop 114, it doesn't say, that's all open to interpretation, but it doesn't say they have to be on the ground by then. I think there's some people that want to see that. I don't think Prop 114 says that,
Okay.
that they have to be. It does not.
Got it. Cool.
That's interpretation.